So I'm going to read a little bit here about the wonderful Reverend Karen Tudor, who's joining us today from Texas. So she spent 20 years with a background in healthcare before becoming a Unity minister ordained in 1994. She served as the senior associate minister at Unity of Houston for 12 years. And then she moved to the ministry to be the senior minister at New Braunfels, Texas, for 13 years. So she has been very active in her ministry. Having recently retired, she's spending time exploring art and music and travel to see old friends with her husband, William. She's also studying in Wales on animism and shamanism. And for Reverend Karen, it seems that life is just great right now. So we welcome you, Reverend Karen.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm delighted to be back with this wonderful group here in Canada. You know, I tell friends I'm going to be speaking in Ottawa on Sunday, and so they think, well, when are you planning to leave? And I said, oh, I'm going by Zoom, so it'll be simple. But this is a beautiful way for us to be connected, isn't it? I mean, this is one of the benefits I think that came out of the pandemic. We became less fearful of technology, more capable of using it, and really being able to be, you know, connected to people we wouldn't have ordinarily met. And I wouldn't have met C and Anne if it hadn't been for a class we offered on Zoom. So it's my privilege. So happy to be here. What does carrying Band-Aids mean, do you think? I'm sure you kind of wondered, was that, you know, there needs to be sort of like a subheading to, you know, what is it connected to? So the subheading really is, I wanted to speak on understanding and compassion. I feel like our world is just on fire and bleeding out at the same time. It just feels like there's so much tragedy and so much human folly involved in how we're living our lives and how we're behaving in the world, and the pain that is happening in every direction. But I want to remind us of the power that we have, you know, the power that each of us bring, as powerless as we feel. It's important for us to remember that everywhere we go, we carry Band-Aids. And I'll explain more about that. I'm going to remind you that those of you who are mothers or grandmothers or aunts, and there's some gentlemen here too, grandfathers, fathers, all the ways in which we, you know, we cherish those that we parent and those who are in our family. But when my kids or grandkids would be playing and get hurt, the first thing they would do, of course, is cry, scream out. And then the next thing they would say is, I need a Band-Aid. That's the first thing. They automatically, oh, it's terrible. I need a Band-Aid. And so, of course, I would examine the owie, you know, I would get down and I would examine it and clean it up as best I could, and then offer an alternative. If the Band-Aid wasn't really functionally the right answer to this, I would like cup it, you know, cup my hand over it and just say, can you feel the warmth of my hand? That your body is healing already. Your body already knows it can take care of it itself. There's such wisdom in your body. And kiss it or kiss near it if it's a little gross, and sit in my lap and just try to comfort and let them know that they're being heard. But often only a Band-Aid was really going to end this little encounter. And if only a Band-Aid will do, a Band-Aid it is. So I would put Band-Aids on things that probably were hindered by the Band-Aid to heal. But I remember all owies hurt. All owies hurt and need the comfort asked for. And that matters at every level of the severity of loss, of the depth of loss, of the pain, of the history of loss, generational, all of that we have accumulated as human beings, that no matter what the upset, trauma, pain, grief, loss, whatever it is, that it all needs to be heard, it needs to be felt together, it needs to be grieved, and it needs to be given the comfort that's asked for. Because what I saw with my grandkids was that responding to their pain makes them feel heard, right? That they matter, that it matters that they're hurting. It validates their reality, and they begin to trust that someone cares that they're hurt. And all the attention helps them move on. Once it's been dealt with, they're ready to go and play again. They're ready to pick it up and go back and join the row, that's happening. And I found that when we listen, when I would just say, honey, I know it hurts. I was in my own need to comfort and to fix and to make it better. I often wanted to rush them to that. Oh, it's going to be okay. Oh, that's just a little thing. That's not bad. Like really encouraging them in my mind. But instead, I was rushing them past their process. And when I would realize that they were insisting on being heard, that it hurt, I was reminded to sit and be quiet and listen and just affirm that it really does hurt. And there's a saying that really reminds us that sorrow shared is halved and joy shared is doubled. And that in the story of Job, there is a beautiful little piece. Everybody remembers how Job lost everything. He lost his children, his family, his house. He lost his wife. He lost everything in this bet with the devil, that the devil made with God, that he could get this pious, righteous man to curse God for all of the, if everything he had was good, then of course he's going to be, loving God and appreciative of God. But if everything goes away, then he'll too be cursing God. And he had a bet with God that could happen. So after all of those things were gone, and he had boils on his skin and sitting in ash, at the height of his losses, 3 friends came and sat with him in silence for 7 days and 7 nights and didn't say anything, and just sat with him, to be with him, to grieve. It's like sitting Shiva, it is that recognition that this is immense and there are no words for it. And we sit in silence and we don't try to rush past the process. This is an important recognition of our shared humanity. This is what we want as children, but it's also what we want and need as adults throughout our life. We need the companionship of shared humanity, of others who understand, who've been there, who walk that walk with us. Jesus was known as a healer. He didn't come to, all of the multitudes that would come to him with all of their wounded and sick and dying at times, people that needed healing, that he didn't just wave his hand over the crowd and, call it a day. I often thought about that, if he's the Son of God, why did he take such time with each and every one of the people? Because all of the encounters were detailed. And so when he would work with them, he would look at each one, he would touch them, he asked them what they wanted from him. He healed them and spoke words of encouragement that they could carry with them. He healed a blind man with spit and dirt and rubbed it into his eyes. Did he have to do that? I'm going to say he must have because he did it. I don't think he ever did anything unnecessarily. I think everything was for purpose. And I think what a lot of it is that he was attending to the multi dimensions of each individual, of what they needed physically, but also what they needed emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, and what they needed in communion with one another. He touched the untouchable lepers to heal them. He didn't have to touch them. We recall that there was a woman who touched the hem of his cloak and was healed just by that. And he knew power had been, had escaped, and he was looking around to see who had touched him. And the interesting thing is that while that was possible, what he did by putting hands on the lepers, the untouchables, the ones who'd been ostracized from community, is that he touched them to heal the fear of those who were witnessing the healing too, and ostracized the lepers from their community because of that fear. His very touch reinstated them back into the community. It acknowledged their shared humanity. Shared humanity is our opportunity. Carrying Band-Aids means we're equipped to use our compassion and understanding to heal ourselves and to heal the world. And that whenever we allow ourselves to let in the pain of the world and not try to isolate ourselves. I know it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to me too. And I know that there are times when I have to cut it off. I've got to go out. I've got to lift my own spirit and all that. That's taking care of ourselves. But what's important is that we also allow ourselves to feel at depth some of the losses of other human beings around the world so that our heart may be broken open and that compassion can be shared. Because compassion is a spaciousness of the heart. It's not something you will, it's not just in your words, it's not a fancy prayer. Compassion is really a depth of being. It is an opening of the heart that opens, and our heart opens and closes like an iris on the eye. And that when we breathe into our heart, relax, and with bravery open to it, we begin to really contain and feel what's happening. Understanding is not condoning. Understanding that we use our capacity to experience or to imagine what that experience must be like, or to remember one from our past that is similar to what we're witnessing in someone else. It's our tool to move from our head to our heart. And in that becomes the opportunity to actually heal. Seeing a behavior and its consequence teaches us when we're observing it, but seeing the behavior as consequence of a past hurt or neglect is understanding. In other words, when somebody acts terribly or acts in a harmful or hurtful way, of course we want to judge and condemn. We want to get on the other side of that. We want to isolate. We want to put them in their own community, untouchable. We want to stay away from that. That's self-preservation. We should, but in some ways we also need to observe it and to be aware that there is more pain that comes through that behavior. Imagining yourself in their shoes and be honest. When have I done that? When have I felt like that the thing they just did? Can I see how if my life had been different, it might lead me to act like that? How would it feel to act like that and then live in the consequence of that behavior? How do people continue to live like that when it's so hurtful and it's such a burden of pain? And that's when compassion starts to move through us. That's when our hearts open and understanding leads the way to a shared humanity. I too have been that. I may not have done those things. It may not have been at the extremity or for the length of time. It may, there's all kinds of differences, but we can certainly understand human beings at times when they do the impossible. And there's certainly examples of evil everywhere. Human beings just lost compassion for them, but not excusing or condoning what they do. Valerie Kaur says, when we are brave enough to sit with our pain, it deepens our ability to sit with the pain of others. It shows us how to love them. Like when I bring my grandchild and sit on my lap. The important thing too is to not compare our wounds, because all always hurt. Not to compare, this wound is not as bad as that one. My pain is not as bad as yours. Theirs is not as, it's a trifle compared to these people over here. I mean, all of this comparing, this is our left brain trying to make sense of things and trying to judge. But all always hurt. And all need some degree of understanding and compassion. The easiest way to separate ourselves from our compassion is to emotionally and intellectually distance ourselves from others. Like, I can't understand that person or where that behavior comes from. Acting as if I would never do that. And I know we feel that, and we probably never have, and maybe indeed we never will. But it isn't because there is a wall between us. There is a continuum, and we have found a way to live at this end of that continuum. But others have not been so fortunate or capable or skilled to be able to do that. Shared humanity is the only thing that keeps us from enacting atrocities. Atrocities arise when we stop feeling compassion or understanding of anybody else. If we separate ourselves from them, it is much easier for genocide. And we see that all of the time. If there are certain cultures, races, types of people that you have difficulty understanding or feeling compassion for, consider reading a biography or a cultural history of that group, or a psychology book that helps you understand people who behave like that and what kinds of things lead to it, to better understand their human journey. Again, the continuum, opening it back up so that we see we're all in this together to some degree, because it is in recognizing our shared human journey that we have the capacity to help heal it. You understand that? That is our superpower, is staying connected at the heart level with all of human life, all of the ways that it looks, to have a space for understanding, not condoning, not allowing, but understanding how that can be, how pain begets pain. Not all pain is obvious either. Sometimes behaviors belie evidence of pain. Don't get hooked by the behavior and turn to judgment, because your peace is sacrificed by indignation and condemnation. If for no other reason, you're not feeling very spiritual today, that's okay. But you don't want to rock your peace by allowing yourself to dwell on the inferiority of other people or the cravenness of others, and say, well, at least I'm not like one of those, as the Pharisee did in the back of the temple. At least I'm not like that. If I'm not feeling good about myself, there's some other things I could be doing to heal myself, so that I can remember that my purpose here, my superpower, is to connect and to help heal. Brother David Steindl said, Life is too short to experience everything, but the human heart is big enough to resonate with everything that any other human heart has experienced. Our hearts can take it. Our hearts are not to be protected. Our hearts are to be expanded, open, brave, taking in all of it, just feeling it. The pain that others have cannot hurt us, even while we can feel that pain reflected in our own hearts. Think about people that you practice understanding, but who keep hurting others with their behaviors. That's a hard one. Remember, understanding, though, is not condoning. So speak up where you can in everyday conversations, where you can share your own insight. If you see something, say something, even if it's awkward, even if it's hard, even if it's difficult. Call it out and just say, I felt that way once myself, but I've come to understand this. This is how I navigate. Vote for better behaving people. Help make changes where there can be better safeguards for others and for yourself. Use your power and influence for positive change locally. And even while you feel powerless, sometimes just speaking up and putting an oar in to change the direction of a conversation can have great power. And it can encourage others who are biting their tongues to step into a conversation that could really, really make a big difference. Make positive change in your circle, in your office, in your work areas, in your volunteers, in your church. Wherever it is that you belong, that you draw strength from, you also contribute, an opportunity to bring the best of yourself there. Roshi Joan Halifax said, "We live in a time when science is validating what humans have known throughout the ages, that compassion is not a luxury. It is a necessity for our well-being, resilience, and survival." If there was ever a time in human history that we needed to be reminded of this superpower in ourselves, it has got to be now. Carrying Bandaids is our affirmation and reminder that when we choose compassion, we choose healing, we choose connection. We are made stronger as aware human beings when we're big enough to care about others' pain. It's really why we're here. Jesus said, "I have come that they may have peace." Jesus knew his purpose was to see the truth in everyone. Now it's our purpose too. Joanna Macy says, "The heart that breaks open can contain the whole universe." And so I feel that I've been giving you lots of reasons, maybe even some ways that you can expand, open, maybe even beyond what you already do. And I'm not presuming that you are judgmental people at all. I suspect that you have to protect your hearts because you are so empathetic and you are so present to a lot of the pain and suffering. But I want to remind you that we are made for this as well. And so for our meditation, I thought what I would do is use a beautiful Buddhist practice called Tonglen, which is a way of first connecting and opening our own hearts to a healing that we are needing, and then expanding it to embrace the world because we are one, because of our connection, because we are open to everything. We are already capable of allowing ourselves to become hollow tubes to allow the infinite love that is needed to come through us, not from us, but through us, from an infinite source out into the world, into its finite pain. And it is a beautiful practice. And so I'll just invite you now to settle in and begin to breathe deeply into your heart. Just allow yourself to gently close your eyes and just let my voice lead you here. Taking a deep breath in, slowly and fully breathing into your heart center. Direct your breath into your heart and feel your heart now relaxing and becoming more supple, more open. Breathing into your heart and feeling that expansion, movement. Feel it relax. This is its natural state. Breathing into your heart center, feel it become clear and open. And now, knowing that our hearts are a portal to the infinite. This is where we are connected to infinite source through our very heart center. Sometimes I imagine it coming through my back, through my heart center and out, forward in front of me to the world. Breathing in the cooling love of the infinite source into your heart and allowing it out. Now becoming aware of a tightness you may have in your body. Just do a brief scan, head to toe, where you have tightness or discomfort, adjusting, pain, perhaps breathing into that pain, or possibly fear, anxiety, perhaps a sense of sadness or emptiness, depression. Whatever arises, whatever comes to your attention, direct this beautiful, cooling peace, love. Every gift comes through our heart center from an infinite source, breathing into it, wherever you hold it. Breathing and letting go. Breathe in the vastness of the infinite source of cooling love into the heat of the pain, the tightness, the sadness. Breathe out, letting it change, intensify, slowly ebb away. Whatever your healing need is, know that there are many in the world who share it. Breathe. Allow. Feel it move within you. And when you're ready, bring in that deep breath from the infinite source, drawing it through your heart center, and breathe in the vastness of that infinite source of cooling love. Breathing out cooling love into the heat of the pain that exists in the world. You know not where, but just allow it to be covered, allow it to be touched by this cooling love that is everywhere present, always available, infinite. No pain is greater than this love. All who know suffering as you have known breathing in from an infinite source and breathing out to each and every one. Soothing, breathing. Continue this practice now for the next few moments. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing. Now let us take a deep breath in. Feeling the peace in your heart and in your body. You may feel a vibration, a subtle vibration moving through your body, feet and hands. Vitality returning. A tranquil sense of peace in your heart. Breathe that awareness out to the world. See it expanding to embrace every soul on the planet, coming from an infinite source straight to the heart. And now with a deep breath in, gently return to this time and place in gratitude for shared humanity and the power of compassion and understanding. Gratitude for every gift, for healing love, for grace and remembrance of oneness. And so it is. Amen.